Speaking of China, let's move on to Elon Musk. Tesla surely will be impacted by what we just talked about.
Oh, yes.
COVID. A big factory over in Wuhan. Elon Musk, if we could put up the first...
This B1.
Yeah, the B1 here. Some tweets from Matt Taibbi, who has obviously been going through the so-called Twitter files since last week. And this, again, the Twitter files have Twitter completely divided and has the media completely divided, with so many folks saying, this is nothing. This is Matt Taibbi totally overhyping this information and acting. I saw one tweet saying basically this was the right's version of Russiagate. And of course, it's not just the right that's concerned about this. And it's not anywhere near the massive conspiracy that Russiagate was. It's indeed an extremely important story. Now, what's important about it is that it does confirm a lot of what people suspected. So it's not entirely new so much as it is filling in the background of what a lot of people, like the broad contours, I think were understood and were known when it came to Twitter's suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story in October of 2020, the New York Post story, which, if you remember, you couldn't even direct message to somebody the day that it came out. If you tried to direct message it to a friend, you literally couldn't do that. So it's now become clear, as Taibbi reported yesterday, that Jim Baker, who, what does Taibbi describe him as? Something of a Zelig of Russiagate, who went from the FBI after overseeing Russian collusion, goes from the FBI, he was involved in the Alpha Bank hoax, which The Intercept at the time, I think it was Li Fong, had a great debunking of, while the rest of the media was taking the bank, that the Trump campaign had a direct link to the Russian Alpha Bank, which was supposed to be kind of a smoking gun showing the collusion, et cetera.
Made absolutely no sense. Like they'd set some server up in the Trump organization that was like sending secret messages back to Moscow or something.
It was full-blown like tinfoil hat then, and it was being repeated by media outlet after media outlet, but it turned out to not be true. And Jim Baker was involved, and I believe he set up the meeting where Michael Sussman tried to plant that story. And turns out, this is the news that Taibbi broke, Jim Baker was overseeing the release of the Twitter files without the knowledge of new CEO Elon Musk. And Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss, I guess, uncovered this as they were looking through the files.
It said Jim. And
it said Jim.
Barry said, Jim who? And they're like, Baker. Oh.
That guy. And so, yeah, it turned out that's what was going on here. Let's put up B2. Jack Dorsey, former CEO, gets in on it, and he says, if the goal is transparency to build trust, why not just release everything without filter and let people judge for themselves, including all discussions around current and future actions? Make everything public now. And Elon Musk replied to @Jack and said, most important data was hidden from you too, and some may have been deleted, but everything we find will be released. That is key, because it means what we have been learning from the Twitter files has gone through this filter of somebody who's malfeasance.
Who was motivated, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even what we have seen, I think, made Jim Baker already look bad, that he was overseeing basically an FBI narrative. Remember, even Joe Biden cited that 50 former intelligence officials said the laptop story in the New York Post had all of the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. He cited that in a debate. And
did Baker sign that letter?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. We should look at
It'd be weird if he didn't,
right now.
Not shocking.
Yeah, that wouldn't be shocking at all. But the point is, he's overseeing this at the time, and Twitter decides to side with the intelligence community and say, because this looks like Russian disinformation, you can't even direct message it, let alone post it on our platform. And here comes Jim Baker once again, filtering, and per Elon Musk's tweet, actually potentially hiding and deleting evidence of malfeasance on the part of Twitter.
Potentially, though, we need to see the receipts for Elon, because I'm reminded of just a couple weeks ago, he created an entire news cycle around the idea that the App Store, that Apple's App Store was going to take Twitter off for XYZ.
Yes.
Because they don't like free speech or whatever. And then he visits with Tim Apple over at Apple, and that was wrong. Like the most generous interpretation is that it was a miscommunication, and that there was might have been some automated message that Elon Musk misinterpreted. That's being extraordinarily generous. So he spun this up. Now, if you are a Twitter employee, a Twitter executive, who oversaw a policy that the incoming leadership doesn't like, you are motivated to cover up what your role in that was. Like, we don't know that they did that, but that clearly aligns the incentives against transparency.
Right.
And so you also certainly should have somebody who wasn't involved in the original decision making vetting those documents.
Yeah.
And I like Jack's point. Why vet them at all? If you want to be transparent, you can scrub people's phone numbers.
Yeah.
But publish everything. Forget
do it like WikiLeaks style.
Just WikiLeaks, just put it all up. That's not how corporations tend to behave, and so they're running up against all sorts of
Send Jim Baker
culture.
a phishing link.
Right.
See what happens.
Tell him to change his password.
I'm kidding. Jim Baker did not sign on to the letter from the 50 former intelligence officials, but even more powerful Jims like Jim Clapper and Michael Hayden signed it, of course. Yeah, and this is an important story because we've also learned Yoel Roth, who was clashed with Elon Musk, is now out of Twitter, had been meeting with federal law enforcement agencies in the election year, and ultimately, again, we'd heard from Mark Zuckerberg that he'd had conversations with the FBI, who said basically be on alert. What we know is not that it was specific to the Hunter Biden story, but before the Biden laptop story dropped, they said be on alert for anything that could be Russian disinformation. The New York Post story drops, and the former intelligence officials, 50 of them, come out and say, this looks like Russian intelligence. It turned out, of course, that's not the case. Multiple news outlets have verified the contents of the laptop, not the entire contents of the laptop, but much of the contents of the laptop and much of the damning contents of the laptop that show, again, potential really potentially compromising relationships. No, not even potentially. Very compromising relationships between Hunter Biden and business interests in other countries, including China. And you can add others to the list. Obviously, everybody knows about the high-profile example of Ukraine, but it doesn't stop there. There's also like Mexico. There's all kinds of stuff on there, and that's what he was doing when he was lobbying.
And meanwhile, we have discovered some speech and assembly rights that Elon Musk is less supportive of, and that is the janitors at Twitter headquarters who went on strike protesting for better working conditions. Recently, he responded by ending the contract with the striking janitors. Done. Just struck them down.
We have an element for that, right?
Oh yeah, that's the last one. Actually, the last two up there.
Yeah, B4. You can actually see what it
B4
looks like.
and B5. It's how it started, how it's going.
Right.
They form a picket line, and Elon Musk just terminates them. We do want to move.
And by the way, Elon Musk sort of famously anti-union, and so he's coming into a unionized workplace, but he's famously not allowed Tesla workers to unionize,
right.
And so that creates it's obviously a huge culture clash for Silicon Valley on many, many layers, and this is obviously one of them. And I think he knows that, he's aware of that, and wants to be, especially in these early days that have been frenzied and chaotic, to say the least, he wants to make an example and to put his stamp on the company as the eyes of the world are sort of watching.
And in the climate bill, he famously fought legislation that would have given subsidies to unionized electric vehicle companies, and with Joe Manchin's help, he was able to get that provision out so that all companies can get them.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.